The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with voices from 43 different species. Ambassador Velthar stood at the center platform, his insectoid body reflecting the bright lights overhead. His antennae twitched nervously as he prepared to speak. What he was about to propose would either make history or end his career. Honored council members, Velthar began, his translator converting his clicks into common speech. I stand before you to challenge a law that has existed for 247 years. A law that makes no sense in our modern age. I propose we lift the ban on humanity. The chamber exploded with noise. Some species cheered. Others hissed in anger. A few simply stared in shock. Velthar raised his forearms for silence. Listen to me. Has anyone here actually seen a human? Has anyone fought them? Traded with them? No. Because none of us were alive when the ban started. We enforce a rule based on stories. Old stories. Maybe even lies. A younger delegate from the Korthan species stood up. Ambassador Velthar is right. My government spends millions every year patrolling the quarantine zone. For what, ghost stories? More voices joined in agreement. The younger species in the galaxy had grown tired of the mysterious ban. They had their own problems. The Void Collective was destroying colonies along the outer rim. Resources were stretched thin. If humans existed and could help, why keep them locked away? But the older species remained quiet. Too quiet. On the far side of the chamber, Councillor Threx observed the debate with ancient eyes. His crystalline body pulsed with soft blue light. He was old, very old. One of the few beings alive who remembered the time before the ban. He had hoped this day would never come. Far from the council chamber, in a region of space marked as off-limits, Captain Daehyun guided his ship through an asteroid field. The vessel was small, old, and completely unregistered. Perfect for smuggling. Daehyun, we've got incoming transmissions from council space, said Jiwoo from the navigation station. She was young, brilliant, and had a habit of poking her nose into encrypted channels she shouldn't access. Anything interesting? Daehyun asked, not looking up from his controls. Very interesting. The council is debating whether to lift the ban on us. That got Daehyun's attention. He turned to face her. They're what? Some young ambassador thinks we're just fairy tales. Wants to prove we're either harmless or don't exist. Jiwoo grinned. Should we send them a message? Absolutely not. Daehyun ran a hand through his dark hair. If they lift the ban, everything changes. Our whole operation either becomes legal or we become targets. Their ship, the Wanderer, carried cargo that was technically illegal to transport across the quarantine zone. Nothing dangerous. Mostly medicine and technology that council species needed but couldn't officially get from the human quarantine zone. Daehyun and his crew had been running these routes for 5 years. They were good at staying invisible. Should we head back? Jiwoo asked. Warn people? Not yet. Let's see how this plays out. Back in the council chamber, the debate raged on. Velthar presented his arguments with passion. The humans had been isolated for nearly 2.5 centuries. If they were as dangerous as the old stories claimed, wouldn't they have broken out by now? Wouldn't they have attacked? The quarantine cost us billions, Velthar argued. Money we need for defense against real threats. The Void Collective is destroying worlds every month. If humans are real and as powerful as the legends say, we need their help. If they're not real, we're wasting resources on nothing. A reptilian delegate hissed her agreement. My colony lost 2 million people last year to Void attacks. 2 million. And we're spending our defense budget watching an empty zone of space? More voices joined in support. The tide was turning. Finally, Councillor Threx rose from his seat. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew who Threx was. He had served on the council for over 300 years. When he spoke, people listened. You want to know about humans, Threx said, his voice like crystal chimes. You think the stories are exaggerated, that we're afraid of shadows and myths. With respect, Councillor, Velthar said carefully. Yes, that's exactly what I think. Threx's body pulsed with red light, a sign of distress in his species. There is a recording, sealed in the archive of cautionary memory. It shows why the ban was created, why it must remain. Then show us, Velthar demanded. Let us see this evidence. If it's real, I'll withdraw my proposal immediately. The other young delegates shouted their agreement. They wanted proof. They deserved proof. Threx looked around the chamber at the eager faces. So young, so confident. They had never seen what he had seen. They didn't understand what lurked behind the ban. Very well, Threx said quietly, but I warn you all, some knowledge cannot be unlearned. Some truths once witnessed will haunt you forever. We're not children, Velthar said firmly. Show us the recording, the vote was called. Should the sealed archive be opened? The result was overwhelming. 40 species voted yes. Only 3 voted no. All 3 were among the oldest species in the galaxy. Threx gave the authorization code. Deep in the station's vault, ancient security systems came to life. A data crystal that hadn't been touched in 2 centuries began to glow. On the Wanderer, Sung-Ho entered the cockpit. He was the ship's weapons officer, though they rarely needed weapons. He was quiet, older than the others, and carried himself like a soldier. Because he had been one a long time ago, is it true? Sung-Ho asked. About the council debate? Daehyun nodded. They want to lift the ban. Sung-Ho's face went pale. They can't, they don't understand. You know what's in the archive, don't you? Jiwoo asked, watching him carefully. Sung-Ho closed his eyes. I was there. Not in the recording, but afterward. I saw what we did, what we became. He looked at Daehyun. If they open that archive, if they see what's inside, everything will change. Maybe it needs to change, Daehyun said. Maybe, Sung-Ho replied. Or maybe some secrets should stay buried. In the council chamber, archivist Yindra arrived with the sealed data crystal. Her amphibious hands trembled as she held it. She had been the keeper of the archive for 60 years. In all that time, she had never been asked to open this particular file. Counselor Threx, she said softly. Are you certain about this? No, Threx admitted. But they've made their choice. Load the recording. Yindra placed the crystal into the holographic projector. The lights in the chamber dimmed. Every delegate leaned forward in their seats, eager to finally see the truth about humanity. The projection flickered to life. A date appeared 247 years ago. A location, the Kessian border station. Velthar settled back in his seat, confident that whatever he was about to see would vindicate his position. The humans would be shown as ordinary, maybe even weak. The old species had simply been paranoid. He had no idea how wrong he was. The recording began to play, and the galaxy would never be the same. The holographic display showed a meeting room. Simple, clean, and brightly lit. 2 groups sat across from each other at a long table. On one side, the Kessian delegation wore their military uniforms, decorated with medals and insignias. They were a proud warrior species, tall and muscular, with gray skin and sharp features. Their empire controlled 400 worlds. On the other side sat 5 humans. Velthar leaned forward. These were the first humans he had ever seen. They looked so ordinary. 2 males, 3 females. They wore simple uniforms with no decorations. One of them, a woman with her dark hair pulled back, seemed to be the leader. The subtitle identified her as Commander He-Jin. This is it, whispered a young delegate. They look so normal. Threx said nothing. He simply watched, his crystalline body pulsing with somber blue light. In the recording, the Kessian warlord was speaking. His voice was loud and aggressive. You come here to protest the destruction of your colony ship? It entered our territory without permission. We eliminated it. This is our right. Commander He-Jin spoke calmly. The ship was a civilian vessel. 15,000 people, families, children. They made a navigation error. They posed no threat, the warlord laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Threat? You have 40 worlds, 40, we have 400. You are insects to us. You will accept this loss and be grateful we don't take more. The other Kessian officers joined in the laughter. He-Jin remained calm. Her face showed no emotion. We request reparations for the lost lives, compensation for the families, and a guarantee this won't happen again. The warlord stopped laughing. You request? You, with your tiny fleet and primitive worlds, request something from us. He stood up, towering over the table. I'll tell you what will happen. You will submit to Kessian rule. Your 40 worlds will become ours, or we will destroy them one by one, just like your pathetic colony ship. The council chamber was silent. Every delegate could see where this was going. The Kessians were powerful, aggressive, and had conquered dozens of species before. This was a familiar pattern. He-Jin stood up slowly. Her 4 companions remained seated, completely still. You have 72 hours to reconsider your position. The warlord's face twisted with rage. 72 hours? You threaten me? He gestured to his guards. Kill them! Kill them all right now. The recording showed chaos. Kessian guards rushed forward with weapons drawn. Energy blasts filled the room. Smoke and confusion everywhere. When the smoke cleared, 4 of the 5 humans lay on the floor. Only Commander Heijin was missing. The Kessian guards searched frantically, but she had vanished. The warlord shouted orders. Lock down the station. Find that human. And prepare the fleet. We're going to finish what we started. We'll burn all 40 human worlds. The recording timestamp began to count upward. Hours passed on screen. The council delegates watched as the Kessian Empire mobilized for war. Ships gathered. Troops prepared. Weapons were loaded. Velthar felt uneasy now. Something about the humans' calmness bothered him. They had shown no fear. Even facing certain death, they had been completely composed. On the Wanderer, Sung Ho stared at the wall of his quarters. He knew what was coming in that recording. He had seen the aftermath. He had been part of the aftermath. His hands shook slightly. The memories never truly faded. Jiwoo knocked on his door. Sung Ho, are you okay? No, he said honestly. But I will be. I always am. She sat down next to him. What was it like? The campaigns? Sung Ho was quiet for a long moment. Efficient. That's the word they always used. Efficient, like we were machines, not people. He looked at her. Do you know why I joined Daehyun's crew? Why I left Earth? You never said. Because out here, running medicine to colonies that need it, smuggling food to stations that are starving, I can remember that I'm human. Not a weapon, not a tool. Human. Back in the council chamber, the recording continued. The timestamp showed 30 hours had passed. Kessian military communications began to appear on the screen. At first, they were routine. Fleet positions, supply reports, standard military chatter. Then the first strange report came in. Command. This is Defense Station 7. We're showing a breach in Section 9, but sensors show no ships in the area. Station 7, verify your systems. Run a diagnostic. Already did, Command. Systems are fine, but someone opened the airlock from the inside. A pause. Then, Station 7, send a security team to Section 9 immediately. The recording split screen. Now it showed multiple communication channels simultaneously. The council delegates had to read fast to keep up with all the messages. Shipyard 3 to Command. Someone sabotaged our main reactor. We're running on emergency power. Command, this is Fleet Admiral Corvin. Our navigation systems just went offline. All of them. Every ship in the fleet. Defense Grid 12 reporting. The grid fired on our own ships. I repeat, the grid fired on our own ships. How is that possible? Belthar's antennae twitched rapidly. What's happening? I don't understand. Threx finally spoke. You're watching humanity wage war, Ambassador. Keep watching. The timestamp showed 48 hours now. The messages were coming faster. More panicked. They're inside the command center. I don't know how, but they're here. All communication relays in Sector 5 are down. We're blind. The defense satellites, they're turning on us. They're all turning on us. We found one. We found a human. But they killed 15 of our soldiers before we brought them down. Make that 16. They were just playing dead. Oh God, the audio cut off. New footage appeared. Security camera feeds from a dozen locations. The council delegates watched in growing horror as the truth became clear. There were humans inside Kessian military installations. Somehow, impossibly, they had infiltrated the most secure locations in the Empire, and they were tearing everything apart. One clip showed a human male identified only as Tae Yang accessing a life support system. His fingers moved across the controls with perfect precision. Alarms blared. Lights flashed red. Then the entire level went dark. 300 Kessian soldiers died in 60 seconds. Another clip showed a female human, Yu Jin, in a satellite control room. She was alone. Around her lay a dozen Kessian technicians. She worked calmly at the controls, reprogramming the satellite's targeting system. On a secondary screen, the satellite's weapons rotated and began firing on Kessian ships. A third clip showed something that made several council delegates gasp in shock. A human named Minseo was caught in a decompression event. Her suit tore open. She should have died instantly in the vacuum of space. Instead, she held her breath and continued working for 4 more minutes, finishing whatever sabotage she had started before finally allowing herself to be pulled to safety. That's impossible, Belthar whispered. No organic being can survive in vacuum for 4 minutes. Humans can, Threx said quietly. For a short time. If they're trained, if they're determined, if they're willing to endure agony most species can't imagine. The recording continued. The timestamp reached 60 hours. The Kessian Empire was in complete chaos. Their fleets were disabled. Their defenses were offline. Their communication networks were compromised. And through it all, humans moved like ghosts, striking from shadows, vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. The Council watched as a 400-world empire collapsed in less than 3 days. Not from massive fleets or superweapons, from 200 humans. Just 200. The timestamp hit 72 hours exactly. The recording showed one final transmission. The Kessian warlord appeared on screen. He looked broken, defeated. His proud uniform was torn and dirty. To the human commander Heijin, he said, his voice shaking, "We surrender. We beg for mercy. Please, please stop. We'll pay any reparations. We'll accept any terms. Just make it stop." Commander Heijin appeared on screen. She was clean, calm, and completely uninjured. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Commander Heijin looked directly into the camera. Her expression remained neutral, but her eyes were cold. Very cold. "The human race accepts your surrender," she said. "Reparations will be collected. Every family that lost someone on that colony ship will be compensated. You will also pay for the resources we used in this operation." The Kessian warlord nodded frantically. Yes, anything. How much?" "We'll send you the bill." Heijin leaned forward slightly. "And warlord? Understand something very clearly. We sent 200 soldiers. We have billions more. If you ever threaten humanity again, if you ever attack another species unprovoked, we will return. And next time, we won't stop at disabling your military. We'll dismantle your entire civilization." The warlord's face showed pure terror. Heijin continued. "Tell the galaxy what happened here. Tell them exactly what we did. Let everyone know that humanity will not tolerate attacks on innocent people. Not our people. Not anyone's people." The recording ended. The council chamber lights came back on slowly. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Several delegates were visibly shaking. One young representative from a water-based species had turned completely pale, their color-changing skin showing their shock. Velthar tried to speak, but no words came out. His confident arguments from earlier felt like they belonged to a different person, a naive person who didn't understand the galaxy. "That was one colony ship," Councillor Threx said into the silence. 15,000 dead. The Kessian Empire had killed more than that from other species. They were known for their brutality, but they made one mistake. He paused. "They killed humans." A delegate from the Korthan species raised a trembling hand. How did they infiltrate everything? The Kessian military was supposed to be the strongest in the galaxy at that time. "Because humans don't fight like we do," Threx explained. "We build fleets. We mass armies. We conquer territory. Humans do something else. They identify critical points and they send individuals to destroy them. Quietly, efficiently, permanently." Archivist Yindra spoke up, her voice soft. "There's more to the recording. Additional data. After the Kessian incident, 14 other empires decided to neutralize the human threat before it could spread. They formed a secret alliance and attacked human space simultaneously. And, Felthar asked, though he dreaded the answer, all 14 empires collapsed within 6 months, some faster than the Kessians did. The chamber erupted in noise again, but this time it was panic, not debate. "Where are the humans now?" Someone shouted. "Are they still in the quarantine zone? What if they decide the ban itself is an act of war?" Threx raised his crystalline arms. "Listen to me. All of you. The ban was not our idea alone. It was negotiated. After humanity destroyed those 14 empires, they could have continued. They could have conquered the entire galaxy. We had nothing that could stop them. Then why didn't they?" asked the reptilian delegate who had supported Velthar earlier. "Because they chose not to," Threx said simply. "The humans came to us. They proposed the ban themselves. They said they would stay in their space if we stayed out. They wanted isolation." Velthar's mind was racing. "They chose this? Why?" "I asked Commander Heijin that exact question," Threx said. "We met once during the final negotiations. I asked her why humanity would accept isolation after proving they could dominate the galaxy." "What did she say?" Threx's body pulsed with deep blue sadness. She said, "We looked at what we became during those campaigns. We looked at our efficiency, our ruthlessness, our absolute refusal to accept defeat, and we realized we were becoming monsters. So we chose to step away, to heal, to remember how to be human instead of weapons." The chamber was silent again. On the Wanderer, Dae-hyun gathered his crew in the common room. They had all been listening to the council transmission. Sung-ho sat with his head in his hands. Ji-woo looked stunned. Woo-bin, their engineer, stared at the display screen with unreadable eyes. "They saw the recording," Dae-hyun said. "Now they know." "About time," Woo-bin muttered. He was usually quiet, but now he seemed angry. "All these years of pretending we're just smugglers, running medicine and supplies like we're some kind of charity. Maybe it's time they remembered what we really are." "Woo-bin," Dae-hyun said carefully. "We left that behind." "Did we?" Woo-bin stood up. "Or are we just hiding? Pretending? Playing at being harmless while the galaxy burns?" Sung-ho looked up. "You weren't there. You didn't serve in the campaigns." "No," Woo-bin agreed. "I was born after the ban. But I trained. We all trained. Every human learns the skills, even if we never use them. We're all weapons, Sung-ho. We just pretend we're not." "That's exactly why we need the ban," Sung-ho said firmly. "Because you're right. Every human has the potential, the training, the capability. But having a weapon and using it are different things." Ji-woo spoke up. "The council is going to vote tomorrow. They'll decide whether to lift the ban. Then we need to be there," Dae-hyun decided. "We need to testify. Are you insane?" Woo-bin asked. "We'll be arrested the moment we dock." "Maybe. Or maybe they need to see that we're not the monsters from that recording. That we can choose to be different." An encrypted message came through. Ji-woo opened it. "It's from Sua." Dae-hyun smiled slightly. Ji-woo's sister, Sua, had been working in council space for 3 years as a civilian trader. In reality, she was one of dozens of humans operating quietly throughout the galaxy. Not causing trouble, just watching, helping where they could, staying invisible. "What does she say?" Sung-ho asked. "The vote is going to be close. Some species want human help against the Void Collective. They think they can control the situation. Use us as weapons against their enemies." Ji-woo looked worried. "She says we should stay away. This could get dangerous." "All the more reason to go," Dae-hyun said. Back in the council chamber, the debate had become heated. Species were splitting into factions. Those who wanted to maintain the ban out of fear, those who wanted to lift it because they needed help against the Void Collective, and a few who wanted to try to control or eliminate humanity before they became a threat. Velthar stood at his platform, his earlier confidence completely gone. "Councillor Threx, I withdraw my proposal. I was wrong. The ban should remain." "It's too late," said a military representative from the Draknor species. "The debate has started. The vote must happen. And I say we should lift the ban, but on our terms. We offer humanity a deal. They help us defeat the Void Collective, and in exchange we allow them limited access to certain territories." "You think you can negotiate with them?" Threx asked. "You think you can control them? They're isolated, outnumbered. If the entire galaxy united against them, we could contain them." "You're a fool," Threx said bluntly. "Did you watch the same recording I did? 14 empires tried to contain them. All 14 fell. That was 200 years ago. Technology has advanced. We're stronger now," Threx laughed. It was a bitter sound. "You think technology matters? Humans don't win because they have better weapons. They win because they're willing to do whatever it takes. They're patient. They're persistent. And they absolutely refuse to lose." The Draknor representative persisted. "Then we eliminate them. Completely. Launch a coordinated strike on their quarantine zone. End the threat forever." The chamber erupted in argument. Some species agreed. Others protested. It was chaos. Threx's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "If you attack humanity, you'll doom us all. Even if you succeed in killing every human in their space, you'll prove to them that the galaxy can never be trusted. And if any survive, they'll spend the rest of eternity making sure we regret it." "They're contained," the Draknor insisted. "They can't reach us, are they?" Threx asked. "Are you certain? How do you know there aren't humans already among us, operating in secret, watching, waiting?" The question hung in the air. Nobody had an answer because nobody really knew. The question echoed in every delegate's mind. How did they know humans weren't already here? The galaxy was vast. Borders were difficult to patrol. If humans wanted to infiltrate council space, could anyone really stop them? Velthar felt his confidence crumbling further. He thought about all the traders, merchants, and travelers he had encountered over the years. Any one of them could have been human. He would never have known. We need better security, the Draknor representative insisted. New scanning protocols. DNA verification at every checkpoint. We need to know who's in our space. You're still thinking like prey, Threx said. Scanning for threats. Building walls. But humans don't need to break down walls. They just walk through the gates and smile at the guards. A young delegate from a bird-like species spoke up nervously. Counselor Threx, you said the humans proposed the ban themselves. Does that mean we're in contact with them? Does someone communicate with humanity? Threx hesitated. There is a communication channel. For emergencies only. It's been used twice in 200 years. Once during a plague that threatened multiple species. Once when a stellar event endangered inhabited systems. Both times humans provided assistance, anonymously. They asked for nothing in return. They helped us? Velthar asked. Even though we keep them locked away? They helped because people were dying. The humans have a strange moral code. They'll destroy you if you attack innocents, but they'll also save you if they can. Even if you're their enemy. The debate continued for hours. Some species wanted to strengthen the quarantine. Others wanted to try negotiation. A few still believed humans were either extinct or had never been as dangerous as the stories claimed. On the Wanderer, Dae-hyun was preparing the ship for departure. They were going to council space. It was risky, possibly stupid, but it felt necessary. Sung-ho entered the bridge. He had changed into his old uniform. Not the current Earth Defense Force uniform, but the one from the campaigns. The one he swore he would never wear again. Why are you wearing that? Jiwoo asked. Because if we're going to tell them the truth, we need to show them who we were, and who we chose not to be. Sung-ho's face was grim. They need to understand both sides. Woobin came up from the engineering section. Ship's ready, but I still think this is a terrible idea. Noted, Dae-hyun said, but we're going anyway. Why? Woobin asked. Why do you care what they decide? We've been fine without them. Dae-hyun turned to face his engineer. Because if they vote to lift the ban, everything changes. Other humans will get involved. The ones who aren't like us. The ones who miss the campaigns. The ones who want to be soldiers again. And if they vote to attack us? Woobin pressed. Then we warn Earth and hope it doesn't come to war. Jiwoo received another message from Sua. She says the vote is scheduled for tomorrow morning, station time. If we're going to make it, we need to leave now. Set course for Station Verdant 9, Dae-hyun ordered. Maximum speed. The Wanderer jumped to faster-than-light travel, heading toward the heart of council space. In the council chamber, the session had adjourned for the night. Delegates returned to their quarters, unable to sleep. The recording had shaken them all. Counselor Threx met privately with a few of the older species representatives. They gathered in a secure room, protected from surveillance. The young ones want to challenge the ban, said a delegate from an aquatic species. They don't understand the danger. Or they understand it perfectly and want to weaponize it, added a crystalline being similar to Threx. Use humans against the Void Collective. Threx's body pulsed with worried yellow light. I received a report an hour ago. A human ship is approaching the station. The room went silent. Are we under attack? Someone asked. No, they're broadcasting on open channels, requesting permission to address the council regarding the vote. Threx paused. They're not hiding. They're not infiltrating. They're just asking to speak. Let them board and we're all dead. You saw the recording? I saw the recording, Threx agreed. But I also remember the negotiations 200 years ago. The humans who came to discuss the ban were polite, calm, and reasonable. They could have demanded anything. Instead, they asked for isolation. What do you suggest? We let them address the council. Under heavy guard, if it makes everyone feel better. But we listen. Meanwhile, Sua was having similar concerns in her small trading office on the station. She had built a life here over 3 years. Made friends. Established a business. Nobody suspected she was human. She looked similar enough to several humanoid species that she could pass as one of them with minimal makeup. But if the ban lifted, or if Dae-hyun revealed himself, her cover would be blown, and she wasn't the only one. There were at least 40 other humans scattered across council space, all pretending to be something they weren't, all trying to help in small ways without drawing attention. She sent a group message on their encrypted network. Family coming for a visit? Might be time to leave. Responses came back quickly. No, staying. They need to see we're not dangerous. Agreed. Running would confirm their fears. I've been here 6 years. These people are my friends. I'm not abandoning them. Sua made her decision. She would stay too. Whatever happened, happened. The next morning, the council reconvened. Every seat was filled. Every species representative was present. This would be the most important vote in centuries. Before the session could officially begin, alarms blared. Security announced that an unregistered vessel had entered the station's defense perimeter. It's broadcasting human identification codes, the security chief reported. They're requesting permission to dock. Panic spread through the chamber. Several delegates demanded immediate military action. Others called for evacuation. Velthar stood up. I caused this situation. Let me handle it. He looked at Threx. What do you think? Should we let them dock? Threx considered carefully. If humans wanted to attack, they wouldn't announce themselves. They would already be inside the station, invisible and unstoppable. The fact that they were asking permission meant something. Let them dock, Threx decided, but keep weapons trained on their ship. If they make any aggressive moves, destroy them. Can we destroy them? Someone asked nervously. Probably not, Threx admitted, but we should try to look threatening anyway. The Wanderer was given docking clearance at a remote airlock. Security teams surrounded the area, weapons ready. Every species held their breath. The airlock door opened. Captain Dae-hyun stepped through first. He wore simple civilian clothes. His hands were clearly visible and empty. Behind him came Ji-woo, then Sung-ho in his military uniform, and finally Woo-bin. They looked completely ordinary. No weapons, no armor, just 4 people. I am Captain Dae-hyun, he said calmly. We're here to speak to the council about the vote regarding humanity. We come in peace. A security officer nervously raised his weapon. Don't move. You're under arrest for violating the quarantine. We understand, Dae-hyun said. We're willing to accept arrest if necessary. But first, please let us address the council. We have information that you need to hear. Councillor Threx arrived, escorted by more guards. He looked at the humans carefully. They seemed calm, tired, not threatening at all. But Threx remembered the recording. He had seen what calm humans could do. I'll escort them to the council chamber, Threx announced. Under guard. They will speak and then we'll decide what to do with them. As they walked through the station corridors, people stopped and stared. Word had spread quickly. Humans were here. Real humans. On the station, some aliens looked terrified. Others curious. A few seemed angry. Dae-hyun noticed a young alien child pointing at them. The child's parent pulled them away quickly, frightened. We scare them, Ji-woo whispered. Good, Woo-bin muttered. Fear keeps us safe. No, Sung-ho said quietly. Fear is what starts wars. We need understanding, not fear. They reached the council chamber. The massive doors opened. Inside, hundreds of delegates waited. Every eye turned toward the humans. Dae-hyun took a deep breath. It was time to tell the truth. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Dae-hyun walked to the center platform, his crew behind him. Security guards formed a tight circle around them, weapons ready. Every species in the galaxy watched through their delegates. Councillor Threx gestured for silence, though it was unnecessary. The council recognizes Captain Dae-hyun of humanity. You may speak. Dae-hyun looked around at the hundreds of faces. Fear, curiosity, anger. All directed at him and his crew. He understood. They had seen the recording. They knew what humans could do. Honored council, Dae-hyun began, his voice steady. We heard about the vote to lift the ban on humanity. We came to tell you something important. That recording you watched shows what humans can do. It doesn't show what we want to do. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Kessians killed 15,000 of our people. Dae-hyun continued. Innocent people, families, and yes, we responded. We responded with force and efficiency that terrified the galaxy. But do you know what happened after? He paused, making sure everyone was listening. We looked at ourselves. We saw what we had become. Efficient killers. Unstoppable weapons. We had won, but at what cost? We started to lose our humanity. The very thing that made us who we were. Sung-ho stepped forward. The old military uniform drew gasps from several delegates. I served in the campaigns against the 14 empires. I was good at it, very good. I destroyed installations, disabled fleets, and eliminated threats. I followed my orders perfectly. His voice cracked slightly. I also had nightmares every night. I still do. Because being efficient at killing doesn't make it easier to live with. Every mission, every target, every life I took stayed with me. The recording shows our capabilities. It doesn't show the cost to our souls, Jiwoo spoke next. I was born after the ban. I never fought in the wars. But I was trained like every human child. We learn the skills, the tactics, the methods, not because we want to use them, but because we need to remember what we're capable of, and we need to choose not to be that way. A delegate shouted from the crowd. But you are that way. You can't just choose not to be weapons when you're built to fight. We're not built to fight, Daehyun said firmly. We're built to survive, to adapt, to overcome challenges. Fighting is just one tool we have, but we have others. Art, music, literature, science, compassion. The ban gave us time to remember those other tools. Velthar stood up, his antennae drooping with shame. Captain Daehyun, I proposed lifting the ban because I thought you were myths. Old stories told to frighten us. Now I see the truth. But what about the Void Collective? They're destroying colonies every week. Millions are dying. If we lift the ban, if we ask for your help, could you stop them? Daehyun met his eyes. Yes, we could stop them in months, maybe weeks. We could infiltrate their systems, disable their fleets, and dismantle their command structure, just like we did to the Kessians. Hope flickered across many faces in the chamber. But then what? Daehyun asked. After we save you from the Void Collective, what happens? You'll have another threat eventually, and another. Will you call us each time? Will we become your weapon that you aim at your problems? And what happens when we're too valuable to let go? When you decide you need us permanently? The chamber was silent again. We chose isolation, Sung-ho said, not because we fear you. We fear what we might become if we stay. The galaxy will always have threats, wars, conflicts, and humans are very, very good at war. Too good. If we're here, we'll be used. And every time we're used, we become less human and more weapon. Woo-bin spoke for the first time. I'm angry about the ban sometimes. I see suffering we could prevent. Deaths we could stop. But my mentors who served in the campaigns taught me something important. They said, having the power to solve every problem doesn't mean you should. Sometimes the galaxy needs to solve its own problems. To grow, to learn, to unite. If humans solve everything, you'll never learn. You'll never grow. A reptilian delegate stood up. But people are dying. My colony lost 2 million last year. How can you just watch and do nothing? We don't do nothing, Daehyun said quietly. He gestured to Jiwoo. She pulled up a datapad and projected information into the chamber's display. For the last 15 years, humans have been operating in council space, not as invaders, as individuals, traders, researchers, medical personnel. We've been here all along. Shock rippled through the chamber. We've delivered medicine to plague zones, Jiwoo said, highlighting mission records. We've repaired stations after attacks. We've shared technology and knowledge. We've helped coordinate defense efforts. We just never told you we were human. Sua stood up in the public gallery. Several guards immediately pointed weapons at her. She raised her hands calmly. My name is Sua. I've been running a trading company on this station for 3 years. I employ 16 people from 4 different species. I've paid my taxes. I've followed every law, and yes, I'm human. More people stood up throughout the chamber and the galleries, 10, 20, 40, all revealing themselves as human. We've been here, one of them said, watching, helping where we could, learning about you, living among you. And if you had wanted to hurt us, you could have at any time, Threk said, understanding dawning on his crystalline face. But you didn't. No, Daehyun confirmed. Because we're not monsters. We're people who chose to live differently. The ban protects both of us. It protects you from our capabilities. And it protects us from becoming what we were during the campaigns. The Draknor military representative stood, still aggressive. This is an invasion. You've infiltrated our space, violated the ban. This proves you can't be trusted. We violated the ban to help, Sua said. To save lives. To build relationships. If we wanted to invade, you'd already be defeated and wouldn't know it happened. Is that a threat? No, Daehyun said. It's a fact. And it's why the ban must stay. You can't control us through force. We're too good at what we do. The only thing that controls us is our own choice, our own humanity. The ban reminds us to stay separate, to help only when we choose, to never become your weapons. Counselor Threx stood. I call for the vote. Should the ban on humanity be lifted? The chamber erupted in debate. Delegates argued. Some wanted to maintain the ban. Others wanted human help against the Void Collective. A few wanted to arrest all the humans present. Finally, the vote was called. Each species representative entered their decision. The results appeared on the main display. The motion to lift the ban failed. Narrowly, but it failed. Relief washed over many faces. Fear over others. The galaxy would stay separate from humanity. But Threx wasn't finished. However, I propose a modification to the ban. Individual humans who choose to operate in council space as civilians, following all laws and regulations, will not be prosecuted. The ban remains on human military forces and organized human expansion, but individuals who wish to live and work among us may do so. This vote passed more easily. The galaxy could accept human individuals as long as they weren't an army. Daehyun smiled slightly. That's all we ever wanted. The freedom to choose. To help when we can. To live as people, not weapons. As the session ended, Velthar approached the human crew. Captain, I owe you an apology. I thought the ban was paranoia and superstition. Now I understand it's mercy. Not just mercy, Daehyun said. It's survival, for all of us. 6 months later, reports began reaching the council. The Void Collective's advance had stalled. Their supply lines kept failing. Their command structures were mysteriously compromised. Their attacks became less coordinated. No human military vessels were ever detected. No official human intervention was recorded. But intelligence reports mentioned rumors, stories, sightings of individuals in the right places at the right times. People who knew too much, who moved too efficiently, who disappeared before questions could be asked. Ambassador Velthar received an encrypted message one day. It contained no signature, but the implications were clear. The ban stays. But we're still here. We've always been here. We'll always be here. Remember, humans don't need permission to protect those who matter to us. We just needed you to stop trying to control us. Velthar never told anyone about the message, but he understood. The humans were helping. On their own terms. In their own way. On a distant station, Daehyun's crew shared drinks in their common room. Sung-ho looked more peaceful. The nightmares came less often now. Ji-woo joked about their next cargo run. Woo-bin calculated fuel costs with his usual precision. Sua contacted them on a secure channel. Command sent new assignments. Medical supplies to the outer colonies. Research data to the Science Institute. Standard work. Nothing about the Void Collective? Ji-woo asked. Officially? No. Sua's voice carried a smile. Unofficially. Let's just say some specialist might be taking vacations in that region of space. Complete coincidence, I'm sure. Daehyun raised his glass. To staying in the shadows. Where we belong. The crew echoed the toast. On Earth, the Human Council reviewed reports from across the galaxy. The Void Collective was retreating. Council species were safe. Humanity remained officially isolated, officially contained, officially not involved. Exactly as planned. One counselor asked, "How many operatives do we have out there now?" "Classified," came the response. "But enough. And if the galaxy discovers the truth, that we've been orchestrating everything from the beginning, they won't. We're very good at being invisible. And even if they did discover it, what could they do? Start a war? They'd lose. Force us back into isolation? We're already there officially. The ban was never about containing us. Then what was it about? Control. Our control. Not theirs. The ban lets us operate exactly how we want, when we want, where we want. And they think they're the ones who decided it." The counselor smiled. "Humanity's greatest weapon isn't our fighting ability." "No," agreed the other. "It's our patience, and our ability to plan centuries ahead." Far across the galaxy in thousands of locations, humans continued their work. Quietly, efficiently, invisibly, not as conquerors, not as saviors, just as people who refused to let evil win. The ban was never a prison. It was humanity's greatest strategy, and the galaxy still didn't understand.